How's it going, everybody? I'm Gary. I'm a voice actor, I'm a gamer, and I'm a PhD in AI stuff. Today, I wanted to talk about how the voiceover industry seems completely blind to the realities of AI, whether unintentionally or intentionally. And it all starts with this guy. This is J. Michael Collins. We know him as JMC. He is an absolute legend in the voiceover industry. He's produced demos for some of the biggest names in voiceover, and he sponsors some of the biggest conferences in voiceover. I really respect the guy, and not only because of his industry experience, but also because he happens to be my mentor's mentor. So when he posted an article he wrote about how AI is failing in voiceover, I just had to check it out. And after reading it, for the most part, it's not a bad article. A super quick summary of what he wrote. Essentially, he looked at some data and found that humans prefer other humans to machines. What a shock, right? It's pretty straightforward stuff, and I wouldn't even debate that because based on my experience in AI, it's generally true. But there is actually one major problem with his article, and it actually has nothing to do with what he wrote. It's the fact that the cover art he chose for his article was made by AI. So let me just make sure you understand the irony here. His article about how AI is failing in the arts uses AI-generated art. Man, these videos just write themselves, right? And if you need proof that the image is generated by AI, you just have to look at the image. The face isn't symmetrical, the antennae aren't symmetrical, this is half an eyebrow, here's an extra eyebrow, here's a phantom finger, the hands aren't the same, the bills are all inconsistent, and some of them have really weird shapes and sizes. This is 100% generated by AI. And for the most part, this is a perfect example of how blind the industry is to the success of AI. Because as a scientist myself, I completely understand the importance of collecting data, setting up experiments, controlling variables, but I've also been in science long enough to know that the real world pretty much never follows the rules that the data was built on. So JMC, as a voiceover professional, knows how the industry views AI and can cite the relevant data and other aspects of the voiceover industry. But when it comes to the visual arts, he's just a member of the general public like everyone else. And when he needs an image, he doesn't commission an artist, he just goes to Google. And I'm not accusing JMC of generating this image. As far as I could find, this image has existed at least since 2024 on some LinkedIn article. But it doesn't change the fact that when it comes to convenience, he has no problem turning to AI. In fact, I highly doubt he even knows that it was AI, which is actually part of the problem. Because AI has become so successful that the industry professionals don't even realize how successful it's become. And by the way, I'm not choosing JMC as an example to pick on him. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm using him because I respect him. Because if someone as venerable and respected in the voiceover industry as JMC can turn to AI, even if subconsciously, so can literally anyone else. And this needs to be a major wake-up call for the voice actors to change how they argue against AI. Because we can argue all we want about the faults of AI, that AI is theft, AI isn't as good as humans, or whatever legal arguments we want, but none of that matters if the audience doesn't care. And this is especially true for voiceover. Because while JMC is correct that humans will generally seek out other humans, that fact doesn't matter when they don't care. And even for things like anime and video games, it's a very, very small percentage of people who actually check who the voice actors are. This isn't Hollywood in the early 2000s. No one's lining up to see the latest Will Smith movie just because it features Will Smith. That's not how the voiceover industry is structured, and if you ask me, nor should it be. People just want good games and good shows, and maybe it is true that AI isn't as good as humans yet, but the image used by JMC wasn't particularly good either. I already pointed out all the mistakes, but it was certainly good enough for him to use. And you'd be silly to think what elite industry professionals think is good is the same thing as what the general public would think is good. And frankly, it's not like the viewers or the gamers prefer AI to humans. JMC isn't wrong when he says humans prefer humans, and I'm willing to bet that a majority of the audience actually prefers humans to AI. But if this image demonstrates anything, it's that as long as AI is good enough, people will have no problem turning to AI. Especially if the alternative is the voiceover industry that they are growing to hate. And if the past several months of the video game voiceover strike has demonstrated anything, it's that the audience is finding more and more things to hate about voice actors. They hate our lack of empathy, they hate our hypocrisy hypocrisy and our nepotism, and they hate our blatant arrogance. So maybe we as voice actors should stop and rethink how we approach the AI argument. Maybe we should stop arguing the ethical and moral quandaries of AI, and maybe we should stop blaming AI for all the problems in our industry. Because maybe the real problem in the voiceover industry isn't AI. Maybe it's us voice actors. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. But before I end the video, a few people have asked me about what projects I've been in as a voice actor, so check out The Precinct. It's an awesome cop sim about taking down gangs and, more importantly, giving out parking tickets. Finally, I just want to say thank you so much to all the gamers who checked out my previous video about AI and voiceover and the arts. Regardless of what direction the voiceover industry goes, I hope that together we can one day shape it into something that the gamers can be proud of. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I will see you all next time.